today we have a very, very special guest, Melissa Proctor. Melissa Proctor is an artist, a branding expert, and who started her career as a ball girl and risen up to become the executive vice president and chief marketing officer for the Atlanta Hawks and the State Farm Arena down in Atlanta, Georgia. And now author of From Ball Girl to CMO. So we're going to dig into this incredible book, and I encourage everyone listening to this and watching this to go get a copy of the book, and we're going to talk about how you guys can get a copy of the book later on. But first, I want to say, Melissa, thank you for coming on. I know I'm going to enjoy this, and my listeners and viewers is going to enjoy this as well.
No, man, thank you for having me. I mean, I appreciate all the work that you've been doing and, following you on Instagram. And so it's my pleasure to be here.
All right. So I read the book, and I actually read it twice because I wanted to make sure
Okay. All right.
for the people listening and reading, it's a very quick read, straight to the point, a ton of gems. You can take a lot of notes, and I was able to read it twice. And I wanted to read it twice because I wanted to make sure I get some of the the good points that you have in here. One of the things you talked about a lot, and it was a recurring theme in the book, is pivoting. Now you are
Mhm.
you work for the Atlanta Hawks, which is in the NBA. Sports people know about pivoting, but pivoting is really, really important in business and entrepreneurship. And it's something that is very crucial to my story, and we can get into that, but this is about you. So could you talk about the art of pivoting, and what's the differences between pivoting and giving up? Because I feel like a lot of times it's the gray
Mm.
area when you're like, okay, just keep going, be consistent, do what you got to do, stay the course. And then there's times where you have to pivot and switch your strategy, but not necessarily switch the end goal. So could you tell us about your thought process on that?
I think that's a great question. And I think from my perspective, I have a very unique approach when it comes to career and direction. And so, actually, the tagline for the book that ended up taking off before it was published was How to Pivot When You Don't Know What You Want to Be When You Grow Up. And I tell people to this day, even though I'm a CMO of an NBA team, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I've never known, I've had ideas in different ways, but that desire to continue to learn and grow is important because for me, when you stop growing and learning, you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, the idea of pivoting in my mind is because I don't have a definitive, it has to be this. It's having the openness and the opportunity to say, all right, I'm doing this right now. Here's an opportunity that's coming my way. Instead of not doing it out of fear or thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough or whatever, the idea that, you're just doing that to learn. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the mindset of people understanding that in these days, especially, no job is forever. And I'm a bit older, but you come from the mentality of, my parents worked the same job for 20, 30 years. And
Yes.
the idea of when you decide you're going to do something, there's no way that you can change it. To me, the idea of the pivot is knowing that the world is your oyster. You can make a change at any moment and it's okay. But giving yourself the mental freedom to know that it's okay because you're only held back by either societal pressures. And obviously, there are things, paying your bills and taking care of your family. That's huge. But in the instance of feeling like you're stuck in a role, a lot of that idea of being stuck comes from within. And
Mm-hmm.
so, really knowing and understanding if it's getting education on something else that's out there, informational meetings, or meeting new people in different worlds, and just exposing yourself to different things can help with the mechanics of how you pivot. But really understanding that there's always an opportunity to me is half the battle.
Mm-hmm. So pivoting is basically adjusting your strategy when when you find out information that you probably didn't have, that this isn't going to work, or that what you thought was true is not necessarily true. So now you have new information. You have to change the course to get to the end goal, which is whatever the end
Potentially.
goal is.
Potentially, but in my mind, pivoting is also getting yourself open because you may be in a role that's a good one. You may be in a place that's a great place and you may learn about something else and you're like, oh, I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that you're closed from being able to make that move to go learn about something else. But I think sometimes people are very rigid and it has to be this and
Okay.
nothing else. So it's not always that things are falling on the wayside or things are going badly and you have to make a change. Obviously, many times that's the case as well. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even when things are good, you still have the opportunity to pivot because it's
Mm-hmm.
still continued growth.
Yeah, and I read a lot of the changes and pivots that happened to you, the things you did in the book, and I don't want to give too much of the book away, but could you talk about the biggest pivot that you made that you feel in your career was a pivotal point to where you are today? Because when you talk about from ball girl to CMO, there's a real in between there, and there's some real strategy that and and education and networking and things that you had to do and that you talk about. So could you talk about one in particular that stand out to you?
I to your point, there's been a number in my career, even deciding to be a ball girl for the Miami Heat when I was 15 in high school. I was trying to get a job anywhere. My mom said you can only get a job in whatever you want to do for the rest of your life. And at the time, I thought I wanted to coach basketball in the NBA, be the first female coach in the league, but I never played basketball. So in retrospect, I'm like, how are you really going to do that? But the audacity to have that dream and that goal and to act on it is what got my foot in the door at the very beginning as the first ball girl for the Miami Heat.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say throughout my career, there were a number of pivots, but maybe one that I think stands out, especially now, when I was very junior after graduating from Wake Forest, started my career at Turner Broadcasting here in Atlanta, working in marketing for TNT. And in the marketing department, I came in as an intern. It was an 11-month paid internship. It was really baptism by fire. So you come in, you prove yourself, and you learn on the fly. And so there wasn't always a guaranteed job at the end of the 11 months, but if you came in and proved yourself, potentially there would be. The person who was there before me did not get a job.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I came in, my goal was to, be the best I could. I had great advice from one of my mentors, Scott Saffron. It was like, find something to be famous for. Like, what's going to make you stand out while you're here? And so took his advice, came in, kicked butt, took names, and maybe around 6 or 7 months into my internship, they offered me a full-time job to stay on with the marketing department for TNT, which you would say is success.
Right.
And at the time I looked around and I was like, here is the moment of my life. Like, everyone that I'm working with is probably a little bit older, they're getting married, maybe some have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I was 22, huge afro, loving life in Atlanta. And I was like, man, they seem so settled. I'm not really ready to settle, but it was a great job opportunity. And so it was, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to take this job or look for another job or do something else? And I decided that I wanted to live abroad for a year because I really wanted to travel and get some of that out my system. And so I found out about a master's program in London, where it was a 1-year master's where I can focus on brand strategy, had learned about it. And so I decided if I can raise the funds to go to grad school in London, then I'm going to decline this job offer of real money. I was an intern. I was hustling. I was mopping up sweat for the Hawks at night because I didn't make a lot of money as an intern. But the idea of turning down a job was such a big thing to me at that time coming out of college, because that's what you work for. And I think in my mind, that pivot of saying like, all right, well, I really want to go overseas was probably one of the best things that I did because it set me up on a different trajectory. One, it gave me international experience. I got to be an intern in Turner's UK office, which wasn't even in the cards. I just met someone and it worked through networking that happened. But I focused on brand strategy and I was able to come back and go down a completely different path than I probably would have gone if I just would have stayed and took the job because it was offered to me at the time. So like I said, it doesn't always have to be a negative because that one was a positive pivot.
Yes.
But you never know, you know what I'm saying? Like it could have taken me down a whole other direction.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's really challenging to do and to make a decision on because it's not like it was just a random job. I can see if you was a marketing, like you went to school for communication and branding and strategy is your thing. That's what you're an expert at. If you got offered a position doing something you didn't want to do anyway, even if it was a high salary, it's easy to kind of turn that down. But when you're interning there, the whole goal of interning is to get experience to hopefully get offered a position, either that position or somewhere similar. And now you finally get that offer and you're like, yeah, I want to step it up a notch, right? So that's pretty hard.
But it's also more of like life experience, like what's important to you overall. And sometimes we're so short-sighted in just what we see in front of us and not looking for the long run.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember even having conversations with my mom and other people, and they're like, "Are you crazy?" And one was I wanted to raise this money, and so thankfully I was able to do that. And I write about that in the book of how I was able to raise $30,000 to go to London for a year to not get into debt, which was important. So that gave me some comfort. And then I had no idea what I was going to do after grad school. I was like, well, maybe they'll give me a job. I don't really know. I built good relationships. And I was able to come back to Turner in a very different way. But it was an experience for me that I think really kind of showed you got to be true to who you are,
Mhm.
regardless of what society may believe, because I truly believe whatever's for you is for you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another theme in your book, and one of your principles, and we're going to get into, breaking down some of your principles, but one of them is just being authentic and being able to bring your whole self to any environment and situation that you're giving your energy to. So could you talk about that? Because I feel like that's a confidence thing, knowing yourself, for one, knowing what you bring to the table, knowing who you are. That's a confidence thing. And a lot of times people, they just want to go with the flow. Whatever this environment is doing, they're going to do it. And I wanted to ask you about that, but I wanted to tie it into like your roots. So you are Caribbean, and specifically Belizean, and that really impacted me because my girlfriend is Belizean. So when you were talking about bun and all of that, I remember going over for Thanksgiving. The first time I went over there for Thanksgiving, we eating bun, and we still eat it now. So I was like really connected, and I called her on FaceTime, like, oh my gosh, she's Belizean. So this is really like, so do you think that played a role in you being your authentic self, just being quote unquote different, how you called it in the book?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm Belizean and Jamaican because my dad is from Jamaica, my mother was from Belize, but I was born in Miami. And
Mhm.
so I'll say growing up, it was a challenge because I was raised differently. People would look at me and they see an African American woman. I was like, "You're black," and I absolutely am.
Mhm.
But when they talk about what you do for the holidays and where you go, and I was like, we eat ackee and saltfish and bun, and these experiences for Carnival, it was a different cultural experience.
Mhm.
So when I got into like middle school, I was bullied for speaking too properly. My mother went to nursing school in England. And so like there was so many things. My parents had tea time. Like that was a part of my cultural norm, which, you look at people, it's obviously looking at Black people as monolithic. Like we're not all one and the same, but
Right.
obviously having shared experiences and living in the US and what that means. And so I think for me growing up, especially in Miami, which was so culturally diverse,
Yes.
I didn't know black and white. I didn't see things in that way until I went to college in North Carolina. It was eye opening
Mhm.
because I had people in my dorm that wanted to touch my hair who'd never really been around Black people before. And that was so different for me, but honestly, great preparation for corporate America and a lot of the work life that I've had to live.
Mhm.
And so when I initially got into Turner as an intern, I remember having a meeting, and I talk about it in the book, with the president of the network at the time, who met with every intern and tried to ask how it was going. And I remember saying, I love the work. I was learning a ton. I loved the people that I worked with. They were great, but I didn't feel like I fit in. And
Mhm.
so they would all go to lunches and happy hours. And, I got the introduction lunch, but after that, it was kind of like, all right,
Yeah.
we didn't relate necessarily on that level. And there was no one else in the department who looked like me outside of a handful of folks who are either at an admin level or, it was just very different. And so I remember saying, I didn't feel like I fit in. And, he stopped me and said, you are here based on all that you bring. So you are doing us a disservice by feeling like you need to assimilate into this culture because all that you are is exactly what we need in this environment. We need your West Indian heritage. We need your perspective. We need all of the experiences that you've had because that's what's going to differentiate us as a business. And that diversity of thought is important. And
Mhm.
so, by bringing my entire self to work every day and talking about Carnival and talking about all of these things, that was the benefit. And I'm so glad I got that lesson at that stage in my career because it has served me to this day. Now I'm not trying to assimilate to anybody. I am me 100%. And I have comfort in that because if I am in an environment that embraces that, then I can be great for that environment. And
Mhm.
so sometimes you may not be the right cultural fit because you may be in a place that may not respect those things or may not want those things. And so for me, as a part of even judging where I'm going, it's important that I can be me and have locks and a nose ring and rock my Jordans and my sweats because that's what I do traditionally. Obviously, if I have a meeting, I can dress it up.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, but it's still ensuring that I can do that. And if I'm leading a team, I can ensure that the people on my team can do that. Because I really believe if you can, take care of your family first and be your best self and bring your whole self to work, you'll do your best work. And at the end of the day, that's best for business.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned something. So being your authentic self and coming to work, bringing your full self to work is one thing, but leading a team and leading an organization like you do as an executive, that's another level. So could you talk about as a leader, because we got a lot of people who listen to this and watch this. So, we have some people who are leaders of organizations who may be thinking, hey, I'm bringing myself to work, but it's hard to galvanize the troops, sort of say, to get everybody on the same page to be able to bring themselves to have a diverse thought to bring to the organization. So what would you say to leaders who are watching this?
Yeah, well, one, I'd say you lead by example. If you are building a culture where you don't want people to stay and work till late at night, you staying and working till late at night, even though you don't think about it, your team is seeing that and they're like, oh man, she's here late. I probably need to stay late too, even if it's an unspoken cultural norm. And
Yes.
so I believe that I have to do it, because if I don't do it, team, you can take time off. It's okay. You need to live. Like, that's important. But I think in the context of people, I've had some colleagues that I loved working with personally. I would know them personally outside of work, and I would go to work with them and they would be like robots. And they were trained in that way of, you don't need to know anything about me personally. You don't need to understand my life. And they keep work and personal very separate. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just another way to approach it. What I have found in my experiences is a lot of times when that's the case, depending on, there's so many nuances, but a lot of times people don't necessarily trust you because they don't feel like they know you. You know what I mean? It's like, well, what do you do on the weekends? Oh, I do work. Like, okay, well, really? You don't do anything else? Like, what is of interest? Because I think those connection points are what really make us relate as people. The example I give often is, I remember when I got promoted to chief marketing officer, I had gone to a meeting at the arena, and there's reserved spaces at the arena for executives. And so I parked in one of those reserved spaces, and security came over and said, I'm sorry, ma'am, you can't park here. This space is reserved for executives. And where some people would be so upset about that, I got hyped. I was like, nah, that's great. Guess what? Hey, look, check it out. I am an executive. Ain't that something? And, the response was like, okay. But I knew all that was breaking down stereotypes and perceptions of what people expect a chief marketing officer or an executive of an NBA team to look like. Yeah. And so for me, the ability to bring my entire self to work and do my work and have my work and reputation speak for itself. Then when you see me and people get to know me, they're like, oh, but you're so cool. I'm like, why can't an executive be cool? Like, why can't you, show your passion and your culture and those sorts of things? And, traditionally people don't do that, but everyone has what works for them. So I would say understanding your culture is incredibly important. Because what works for me at the Hawks may not work for me somewhere else.
Now, you said something in the book that really sparked a conversation.
I can't hear you. I think your audio cut out.
Can you hear me now? Hold on. I can hear you.
Okay. Nope. I can hear you now.
You hear me now? Okay.
Yeah.
You said something in the book that sparked a conversation between me and my team members when you talked about the way you look at traditionally setting goals and setting linear goals. Because it was just 2 or 3 weeks ago when it was the first of the year, everybody set New Year's goals and resolutions. I'm setting revenue goals for my company. And you said you don't really set traditional goals, how they are taught in business school or taught in any personal development course. You have principles you live by. Now, could you expand on that a little bit? Because we are always told you have to have goals in your career. You have to have something to aim for. You're not going to hit anything. And the way you broke it down and explained it was very impactful to me. And it made me rethink the way I look at things, because I'm always talking about having a certain net worth at this age and, having accomplished this. But I'm not saying I'm setting myself up for failure or disappointment, but those are things I strive for. And if I don't hit them, I don't look at myself as a failure. That's just me personally. But I think a lot of people do. So when they're 30 and they're not a millionaire, like they said when they was 15, now they look at themselves as a failure. I personally don't do that, but I know a lot of people who do. So could you expand on that?
Well, I will say that it is important to have business goals. So definitely having revenue targets and metrics and KPIs, I would never say that is not important, because based on whatever business you are, having revenue and basing those goals and having your team work together to achieve them, that's important. When I was talking about my guiding principles, that was much more as it related to my life and personally. So before I'll get into them, I'll give an example of why I think it matters. When I took the role as chief marketing officer, I had a number of people reaching out to me. I want to be a CMO of an NBA team too. What do I need to do? And I remember when I got promoted to CMO, my boss and I had a conversation, and I was kind of like, well, why me, bro? You know, like it wasn't expected at all. And he said, you know why? It's because you don't want it. And I thought that was really interesting. And I said, well, what? And the conversation was much more the understanding of, for many people, they're driven by ego, the perception of power, money, whatever they think a title will bring them. When in reality, my mantra is I just want to make dope shit. Like that's what I strive to do. That's what I enjoy. And because I have a passion for people and working with teams and, you know, really kind of pushing boundaries and trying to do different things, he's like, that's why you need to be in this role. You know, and so when people came to me and said, hey, I want to be a CMO too, and I'd always ask why. And it was like, well, I want to help control the strategy of the team. I was like, you can do that as a, you know, what is it about CMO? And so much of it went back to what my boss had said. It's the perception of the power or the title or the ego. And so, you know, in my mind, all that is stripped away. I know that if tomorrow, and I think a lot of it has to do with my upbringing, I would spend the summers in Jamaica and Belize growing up, and just seeing a completely different lifestyle, washing clothes and hanging them on the line. And, you know, just the joy of being able to walk and go to the beach with family. So for me, like the rat race of, you know, US culture and the way that we are just trying to rise to the top of some ladder, I'm like, and then what happens? You know, like, and then what? So instead of focusing my efforts on a title or a job, when I was in grad school in London, I wanted a job in branding. That was kind of my goal. And that was probably the only goal that I kind of set for myself. And maybe 3 years afterwards, I ended up getting a branding job. Then I was like, now what? You know, like now that you did it, it's like, do I want a senior title and branding job? And it didn't make a difference. And so I had talked to some of my mentors about the idea of defining guiding principles. What are the values that you create for yourself that will help you decide what direction to go in your life from a broader perspective, and using your experiences, the things you love, the things you hate, you know, feedback people give you, the things that get you excited or passionate, and like putting those together to really figure out what you need in order to thrive personally. And once I really started thinking about it and defining them for me, and I have kind of my starting five that I call it, it just completely transformed the way I look at jobs. So people to this day are like, oh my gosh, you're CMO of the Hawks. What are you going to do next? I'm like, I have no idea. But I have these guiding principles, and all these, any opportunity that comes my way, I'll vet them against these things. And if they line up with it, then I'm open to just exploring the idea. And that's a radical change because people expect that you're going up a ladder, but I've never had a ladder. And so you talk about a ladder and a lattice career. Some people believe that you start here and you work your way up. I have taken jobs that were left field, weren't created before I got there, stuff ain't nobody ever heard of, raising my hand to take on stuff no one else ever wanted, and then a desire to just learn and grow. And I think ultimately that is exactly what got me where I am, but just in a non-traditional approach. And so for me, my guiding principles were one, and I learned these through jobs that I've had and experiences, being creative and strategic. As you mentioned, I'm an artist by trade. That's some of my artwork on the wall behind me. You know, I love to paint. I went to college on an art scholarship. I was in magnet school and middle school and high school for art. And I love creative, but through my corporate career, I learned a lot about strategy and business strategy. I learned that I do best when I'm able to put those two things together, because that's my superpower, being both creative and strategic. Secondly, I get bored real quick. So I need to be able to add new tools to my personal toolbox. So any job that I take on, it has to offer me something new, learn about a new industry, you know, stretch me in a different way, because that's important to me. Because like I said, if I'm not growing and learning, like I'm dead.
Right.
The third is my mom was horrible with money when I was growing up. And so the idea of being able to be in a position where I can pay my bills on time, maybe ahead, and be able to invest in my future for myself and my daughter, that's very important to me. And so then the idea of being able to help educate people and being better around how they can be better financially is important. The fourth is some sort of work-life balance and harmony, you know, and I mentioned the idea, I love to travel. I love spending time with my family and friends. And so if I am not a workaholic, I won't be the one that's going to be there 24/7. Now, if we have a big project and that's what it calls for, we're
Right.
absolutely doing it. But understanding balance, we work in order to live a life. And
Mhm.
so I think the combination, it depends. In entrepreneurship, you eat, sleep, live, breathe. You're
Yeah,
working. It's a very different way. You know what I'm saying? But that also may be what drives you based on the passion that you have for that idea. So it's different for everyone.
yeah. Hmm.
But for me, the important piece was being able to be there for my daughter and my family.
Hmm.
That's important. And then the last piece is that authenticity. If I can't bring my whole self every day, and if you're telling me I can take this job, but I have to cut my locks, that's not where I need to be, nor where I would be. And so those are my starting five, and they seem simple, but getting there took a lot of time because I had to have experiences that were in the opposite to make me be like, no, that's real important. Like I can't thrive without that.
Hmm. Yeah. Now you mentioned being able to bring your authentic self to work. You had an experience early on when you didn't feel like you was a part of the team, even though you were on a team. Now, do you have any other experiences from the other four principles that taught you and that brought those principles up
Yeah,
to your top
absolutely.
starting five?
Yeah, every single one of them. I mean, that's how they got created. And so, and the, the being creative and strategic, after I finished graduate school, I took a job as a creative because that's the job that was available. I had a design background, so I was a motion graphics producer for a while, producing on-air graphics for TBS and TNT. It was great. It was a creative job, designing logos and making stuff move. And I realized that just because I had the skill set, I got to learn about new technology within it. But I was so bored because I couldn't make strategic decisions. If you watch any network and they have the little things in the corner that tell you to watch something tonight at 6 or 7,
Yeah,
like I was
yeah, yeah.
typing that out. I said, this is not for me because I'm not using the other side of my brain and I couldn't just be all creative. And
Hmm.
so that was like, I need to find a way to blend this marketing strategy and this creative together to do something.
Hmm.
So that's where that one came from. I had other jobs where I took on a role or continued to do something for a long time where I felt like I wasn't getting anything new. And
Right.
so when I had opportunities to take on task force roles and positions externally with nonprofits, and that's what got me excited. So I knew that I had to be learning. And
Mhm.
everything didn't necessarily have to be in the job, but I really had to find ways that I can continue to grow. And if I had an opportunity where I could do that in a position,
Mhm.
today in my current job, there is no 2 days that are the same. I'm learning about different teams. I'm learning about different things all the time. And I
Right.
thrive off of that.
Mhm.
I gave the example of my mom with the bills. So I just knew that I didn't want to come home with my lights off. Like that was not the life that I wanted to live for myself.
Mhm.
And as I've gotten experience in talking with mentors and other people, they talk about having stake in a company or an organization or the idea of investments and stocks. I wasn't learning anything about that, when I was growing up. My
Right.
mom was a nurse, my dad worked at a bank and sorted checks. And so for me, just that knowledge is like, okay, now that I have that, how do you continue to build and grow
Mhm.
on that? Gave the example of, the authenticity piece, but when I graduated college, my mother went out on disability the same day she dropped me off at college, and I became a caregiver. I'm an only child, and so my parents were divorced from my mother much of my working adult career. So in my 20s, she had a stroke, and I had to go to Miami for about a month and help her rehab and move her into assisted living, and all of that I had to do while also working my job. And
Mhm.
because I had a role that afforded me the flexibility to work remotely while I was there and really give me the time to be there for my mother, like that became the top priority in my life because I know there are many jobs that won't allow that.
Mhm.
But they know when I was there, I'd give 1,000,000% of myself. And so understanding that wherever I work for, that's important was critical.
Yeah. Now you mentioned mentor, and you have a unique story in your book, and I don't want to give that one away because that one was really impactful about mentorship and how you approach that and how others look and should look at that. Um, what keeps you up at night? And I'm asking you this question: what keeps you up at night in your career, whether it be being creative or as a brand strategist, or being creative with the new social media age, or like what's some things that you and your team are working on that you haven't yet grasped that you feel like you need to tackle?
I think it changes by the day, to be honest, because I think, well, within this pandemic, things are changing so rapidly,
Yeah.
especially within the NBA and what we can do, what we can't do. And we used to always have basketball camps and clinics in the community. That was a big part of our work and our outreach.
Yeah.
Now we're ensuring our team member safety and our fan safety before anything else. Like, that's important. And so how do we kind of marry these two things together with the kind of crawl, walk, run strategy of like, we don't know when things will be safe again. And so that kind of multiple planning simultaneously is a huge challenge, but something that we have to do. I'd say, this season, and one of the things that I'm most proud of almost in my career was this MLK uniform that we did for our Nike City edition for the Hawks this season. When I started my role as CMO, about 3 years ago, we sat down with the Nike team, and that was the first idea that I suggested that and we designed with them. So to kind of see that come to fruition 3 years later is amazing. And having it blessed by the Pope recently, which took it to a whole other level. I'm wondering how do we top that? We have more things coming and other things coming down the pipe, but there's a lot of pressure to maintain edge and to continue to differentiate and to be relevant to our audience and as true to Atlanta as we can possibly be. That's important. How can we impact the community? Being the first team in the NBA to open up our building for voting, especially in Atlanta, in Georgia, of all places, was a very big deal.
That was really a big deal. Yes.
Yeah. That was biggest community initiatives we've ever undertaken as an organization. So obviously there's not always going to be a huge general election, but what is the next thing that we can do that will really have impact? So a lot of it is just continuously trying to figure out how we can advance the ball forward and do what's best for our organization, but also for our community.
And you have some unique experiences, and you said you wanted to be an NBA coach, and then you actually haven't accomplished you haven't accomplished that, but you have done something even better, being an executive, running an entire organization. What, as a leader, when you have to turn down somebody as talented as yourself, because you got turned down from different positions that you thought you wanted to do, what goes into your mind? Like, how do you even communicate that to a young Melissa who's, let's say you see they're very creative, and like the NBA said, you're not, like, this position, you're too creative for this position. Like, that's it seems like a compliment, but it could be, it could demotivate a lot of people who don't have their mind on, or their confidence up, saying you're too creative. That might make them not want to actually create or be creative and actually, try to fit into a corporate environment where they don't actually fit into. So how do you even communicate that to a young Melissa or somebody's coming up, that a position may not be best for them, but their talents may be best, elsewhere?
Well, to your point, I got told no a lot of times, and still get told no a lot of times in different ways and contexts these days. But I will say that what I've learned over the years is context and understanding the why make all the difference. So I wish when the NBA turned me down for that internship and told me I was too creative in their business, that's all I got. Right. I didn't understand that, the NBA was made up of a lot of attorneys and a lot of their work was on like IP rights and licensing. I know that now, being on the team side, but now I can be like, I totally understand why. So as a leader, if I am communicating to someone, a young Melissa, it's important to me. And I think my team now also realizes that people may be like, oh no, we can't do that. And I'm like, why can't we do that? Take the time, the extra beat to explain, because I think, to your point, it makes all the difference in the perception of the person and opens them up to like, oh, you don't hate me. It's because of these things. Or, you never understand the perspective of the organization. Folks are like, hey, well, how do I get a job on your team? What are you looking for? I said, it depends on the position. Every position isn't the same. So if I'm looking for a copywriter with an irreverent voice to help do something cool and different on Instagram, if someone is a corporate writer working for a very corporate company who may be a fantastic writer, I may not go that route, but there may be somebody who's off the beaten path doing something crazy irreverent over there with a lot less experience, but may have more of the spirit of what I'm looking for my position. So you have to understand the context that you're being put within, because it's not always just about the person directly. It's really the role you're trying to fit. And a lot of times, which is overlooked and something most people don't communicate, it may be the gaps on the team. So there may be already people in the organization, and I might have 5 people great at this and one person who's also great at the same thing. I'm like, I might need somebody who's different and better in a different thing. to
Yes.
help round out the team to make us stronger.
Mhm.
And those sorts of nuances are really hard, but important when you're promoting or talking to or helping to manage any talent coming into a company.
And I made a post on social media, and a lot of people, I don't know why they didn't believe me, but I had like 20, probably like 24, 20, 25 different jobs, and I'm only 26. And they were like, how did you have this many jobs? And I was just telling them I used to apply for a lot of jobs. And the reason I started my company and my media and marketing firm is because the jobs that I was applying for, none of them, like I was applying at marketing firms and different type of marketing and branding, because that's what I wanted to do. I went to school for communication and marketing, so that's what I wanted to
Mhm.
do. But I didn't get any of the jobs. Like people, it's so crazy how people are just really hitting me back in my email, like, hey, we want to come in for an interview. I'm like, that was 2 years ago, right? And it's
Uh-huh.
ridiculous. But I look at it now and say, I would have never started my own company. I would have
Absolutely.
never had my own studio. I would have never had my own show, my own podcast. I would have never, been able to speak and travel and do the things that I do now in my business. I would have never been able to do that if I would have got one of those jobs. And I know it's people who got those jobs that probably didn't have the aspiration that I have to travel and do all these other things entrepreneurial. And they that job was best fit for them. So I think it's just hard to
Mhm.
internalize when somebody tell you no, that maybe they were actually right and you were wrong. So that was really hard. And I'm learning every day on
Let me tell you, I truly believe that what's for you is for you, and everything happens for a reason. I give the example of I was at Turner for 11 years and had 9 jobs. People are like, how are you in the company 9 years? And started as a trainee and an intern and worked my way up to vice president of marketing and content creative,
that.
which was almost unheard of in that company at that time because there were so many people who'd been there for 18, 20 years who were trying to work their way up. But because I took all these different jobs that weren't connected was one of the reasons. And the last role that I had was a digital health and wellness startup. And when the position became open, I was a part of a task force that developed into a business unit. And they
Mhm,
said, hey, Melissa, you've done a great job in this task force, would love to offer you this opportunity. I
mhm,
had mentors that said, don't do it. Turner's not great at launching these new businesses. Don't take that risk. You're in a great role. At the time I was working for Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, in a great position, business strategy.
mhm,
And I said, in my desire for my second one, I was like, I need to learn and grow. I can kind of do this stuff in my sleep. And so, because of my guiding principles, it was, you know what? I would learn a lot in this job. I can take on new ideas, and I have no idea what it will become, but let me just try it out.
mhm.
I did it, loved it, built out a team, was traveling to San Francisco and New York and building out websites, working with Google and Apple. It was bomb. 6 months after we launched the business, one CEO left, a new CEO came in, and the last business started, which was ours, was the first business cut.
Right,
Now, many, many years later, they were clearly preparing to sell. Now it's AT&T and Warner Media, but this was before any of that was even a conversation.
right.
At the time I got laid off, or my entire business unit got cut, I was 8 months pregnant
Wow.
with my first and only child. And so, talking about how to hear no at a really bad time, like, hey, and HR was like, oh, well, we'd love to keep you. I'm a house. Like, who am I interviewing with? I'm not working for anyone at the moment.
Mhm,
And I said, you know what? Let me just go have my daughter and I'll figure out the rest. God has my back. I'm a woman of faith. And so I left, and literally, I think my last day was June 12th. I had my daughter May 31st.
mhm.
And so I had her about 2 months later, went to the arena, then Phillips Arena, as a fan to go to an NBA draft party because I'm a basketball fan, and
Right.
went with a friend of mine and ran into one of my old mentors from Turner who had left Turner to come and be CEO of the Hawks. Didn't know he was going to be there. We didn't talk about it in advance. He sees me and is like, hey, I might need your help building a brand. Because he
Wow.
remembered me when I was a ball girl for the Hawks mopping up sweat. He
Mhm.
also remembered me working on brand strategy projects while at Turner, but I never worked for him, never reported to him, but reputation and all of that connected.
Right.
So I started sitting in on some meetings and helping. He said, why don't you consult? So I started consulting. And then maybe about 9 months later, I ended up coming on board with the Hawks as a vice president of brand strategy, which I would have never imagined the day I got laid off.
Mhm.
And then come to find out later on that when he left Turner, he had a no poaching policy in his contract where he couldn't take any talent with him from the company. So had I not taken that job that he probably told me not to take and not gotten laid off, I probably wouldn't even be in the opportunity or the position that I'm in right now at the Hawks.
Right.
So the idea of knowing that sometimes you're getting told no and that door is closing on purpose to help get you to something else, it's so hard to see in the moment.
Yeah.
But
I mean, that's something I struggle with all the time. I have so many different opportunities, and one of my mentors, he basically told me like, you are more attractive when you can say no. So saying yes to everything, jumping at everything is, it seems in the moment, it seems like the best thing to do. But when you know what you want out of life, and when you know what you don't want, so part of knowing what you want is knowing what you don't want. So,
mhm,
what I like about your principles is it tells you what you want and it talks about what you don't want, right? So you said you don't want to be a workaholic. So working somewhere that takes you away from time with your family and your daughter, that's just a no brainer. Like you're not, even if it's a good opportunity, you're like nope, right? But
yeah.
most people, if they don't have the principles, and me just being young in business, I'm considering it like, oh, okay, I will do this, I'll do that, and
But sometimes it takes you doing that to understand the principles. So like you asked the question of what experiences happened to get you there. Like I was in the position where if I didn't have it, I realized how important it was for my life. And
mhm,
so like those things you can't you have to kind of go through it sometimes. Other times you can see it. But the one thing I'll also say is I wouldn't focus on the negative, focus on what you do want. Because I also believe in looking at it in the positive and the affirmative will really help guide that, as opposed to like there'll be a million things you don't want, but what is important, and that's a critical distinction.
mhm. And I want to wrap up, and I want to talk about something you said in your book, that you still don't know what you want to be when you grow up. And that's a very open-minded statement, because ever since we can, think about school or a career path, somebody always put pressure on us as young adults and young children, asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? What are you studying in school? What do you want to do? And for you to be as accomplished as you are and successful as you are, you don't have to do anything else, and your track record speaks for itself. But for you to say, I still don't know what I want to be, and I'm open to new opportunities, I think that's very impactful. So could you speak to that? Because I feel like that's going to help a lot of young people, particularly who follow, my movement and everything I do, is because people DM me. I get over 100 DMs a day, and half of them are, hey, how did you find your passion? How did you figure it out? And what I tell a lot of people is, I struggled and had a failing business before this. And one thing that, it's so crazy how this book impacted me. So when you start talking about the pivot, that is the that is exactly what I did. So I had a company. It was about financial literacy, because that's what I promote now: financial literacy, entrepreneurship,
Mm-hmm.
leadership, things like that. But it was focusing primarily on like student loans, because I had to put myself through college. I had to take out student loans. So I was teaching and educating people about that. And just the nicest way to say it is, it failed. I didn't make any money. I lost money. Actually, I did my taxes, lost probably about $10,000, and I'm like, I'm not losing another $10,000. So I stopped that business. And the goal was still to educate my community on financial literacy. So that was like always my end goal. And one of the leadership books I read in college always talked about start with why, start with the end in
Yep,
mind. And
absolutely.
I just kept thinking about that, like, okay, why am I doing this? I still want to educate. And then I'm like, okay, um, I met the guy who, and I don't know if you know this guy, but his name is Lonnie Johnson. He's the he started the Super Soaker. He created the Super
Oh
Soaker.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I met him at the gathering spot, actually, and he started telling me about, his experience, and we talked for about 20 minutes. And I was like, and he was sitting in the stand, like it was at a event. He was sitting in there with me. I didn't know who he was. Everybody else walking around probably didn't know who he was. And I'm like, this guy's worth $500 million sitting next to you, and you're not even speaking to him. And then the idea of Black millionaires, to promote people that we don't know who are successful, and Black millionaires, executives, business owners, that idea came to me. And
Awesome.
it was very hard. I had to, all the branding, all the money, all everything I put towards one business, I had to pivot and go to my next business. So it was still on financial literacy, educating the community, but my whole brand strategy and everything had to
Mm-hmm.
switch. And now people see what I'm doing now a year later, and they're like, wow, how long have you been doing this? And I'm like, well, if you're gonna count all
A
the years
long time. You absolutely
if you're
counted
gonna
because
count
that's
all the
what
years I've
helped.
been struggling, I've been
Yeah.
doing it a long time. But you've
Yeah.
probably been following me for the last year. But I've been struggling, and I made a crucial pivot, just based off, just my experiences, starting with why, and
But that wasn't a struggle. That was the education. I mean, without that, you wouldn't get there. And I'm such a huge believer. People are like, what's your biggest failure? I was like, I didn't have any failures. I had learning opportunities. That's what I had. Because for everything that didn't fail, even the brand that I started that went that, I had the best learning opportunity through that ultimately got me to where I am today. So like, absolutely, that's part of your journey.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I make sure I emphasize that and tell people that, because a lot of times, a lot of small business owners or people who are early in their career and they're not prospering, again, that setting, I want to be this by 30, those goals, those linear goals, it get us caught up a lot, because we see other people posting up, and especially with social media now that everybody has
That's tough.
something to promote or
Tough.
showing everything they did in the stock market or whatever. It makes you get FOMO of, you feel like you're missing out and you feel like a failure. But for me, I just had to look at myself and look at the experience that I had. And I just made a crucial pivot, and people were laughing at me like, here you go with another business, here you go with another idea. And now it's actually gaining some traction. And now people are like, I always remember. So it's people who wrote me and write me every day. And they say, I remember when you was making corny videos in college. So I used to be making videos and things like that in college, and people used to laugh at me. And those same people are now in my DMs asking me on advice. And I'm like, well, the advice I would give you to go back when you were laughing at me, that guy, that person, you need to be in that stage, figuring it out and be willing to put yourself out there and get laughed at. So now in a few years, you get all that experience, so you will be ready for opportunity. And that really impacted me, to for you to talk about that pivot and being able to change change your mindset and be open to new opportunities and realize when something's not working. That was really crucial for me, because I was doing the stuff I'm doing now. I was doing similar things, but I just made a few different tweaks in my business model and in my strategy, and the rest is history. And now I'm still, I'm building out what I have now.
That's awesome. And congratulations to you because you're doing amazing work. And I think a lot of time it's positioning, it is
Yeah.
positioning and understanding your target and what's going to resonate versus what's not. So you got to try things till you figure it out. We do
Yeah.
it with the Hawks all the time. The one thing I'll say in closing to your question of, how do I continue to be open? There's a fear inside sometimes, especially if you don't know if you can do something. And so last year, one of my kind of mental thing was push myself outside my comfort zone, because a lot of times you can be in it and like you got it, it's easy, like even doing these kinds of conversations, I wasn't doing many of them before. And even writing my book, it was years and years like, oh my god, I'm gonna do it, I was like, you're gonna do it, like let's finish it. And so sometimes it's that personal drive, and everyone's personal drive is different, and I've learned that more probably from writing this book than anything else. I have family members who've known me my entire life who read this book and they're like, I didn't know half of this stuff about you. You've done so much. And, they're like, well, how are you motivated? Who's pushing you? And I'm like, I push me. God pushes me. Because for me, that whole idea of like just striving, many people don't have it.
Mhm.
And I learned early on in my career, there's some folks who need things in black and white. That is, tell me exactly what to do and I will do it. And that's it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
And there are other people who can take a blank sheet of paper and create something. And the
Mhm.
story that you just gave in that example is, you're just trying different things and creating different things. I'm like that as well. And I think that's the artist and the creative in me. That's
Mhm.
a very different skill set. None of them are good, bad, and different. They're just different.
Right.
And so the ability to go in an environment and try something new and push boundaries and, test things and see what works and doesn't, and fall flat on your face and get up and try something else. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of effort and energy to do that. But
Mhm.
I also think it just makes what happens in the end so much sweeter.
Yeah, yeah. So I really appreciate you for coming on here and sharing your story and sharing your principles. If you guys want to learn more, you definitely want to check out From Ball Girl to CMO. Could you tell everyone where they can find the book and actually get access to it?
Absolutely. Well, it's on Amazon, so feel free to look there. Also, you can visit my website, melissamproctor.com,
Mhm.
or feel free to follow me on Instagram, IG at Melissa M. Proctor as well. And thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning. Yo, guys, could you hear me? I've been having some I think I'm having some issues with my camera. So what I'm going to do is I'm switching my camera at the moment, and then I want to bring some small business owners on here to actually evaluate their brand. Tell me about their brand so I can help you guys out with the brand. So let me know if you guys can hear me. Drop a 1 down in the chat. I'm having my team switch around some cameras and stuff right now. But once we get the right camera going and all of that, we're going to look at some different brands. And I appreciate you guys. Please like and share the video. Please like. In order for me to bring people on here for free and have them share their time and their knowledge, I need you guys to like the video. It doesn't cost you any money to do that. So hopefully you guys could help us out there in terms of the channel. If you guys want to join, there we go. We back on. Okay, so if you guys want to join in, right? If you want to join in, click that link. Unique, you want to be evaluated. Okay, click the link. I just put the link. Let me see. Hold on, I'm gonna try to pin this comment. Hold on 1 second. I'm a mortgage loan officer. I need help branding myself. Tamara, you know I used to be a mortgage loan officer, right? I used to be a mortgage banker, so I can for sure help you with that because that's what I do. Why this can be? Hold on 1 second. Okay. All right, guys. So click that link. If you click that link, that is going to allow you guys to join in on the conversation. Join in on the conversation. Yeah, she was definitely awesome. So the name of her book, here's the name. Here's her book here. It's From Ball Girl to CMO. This is the name of her book. I saw a bunch of people asking about it. From Ball Girl to CMO, Melissa Proctor. Right? And go follow her on Instagram, do that whole 9. And check her page out. Melissa, her Instagram is Melissa Proctor. But I want to get some small business owners on here. I got Isaiah Thomas on here. We got Tamara on here. Okay, so we're gonna go with ladies first. Let me see. Hey Tamara, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, what's going on? I appreciate you for tapping into the channel. State your name, your location, where you're from, and what
Tamara,
you do,
and I am in Mississippi.
Okay.
My question is, I am a mortgage banker currently, and my goal is to actually open up my own mortgage company.
You going in and out? You're going in and out.
Am I?
I don't know if you're on.
Hang on.
That sounds.
Can you hear me better?
Yes, that sounds better.
Okay. I'm Tamara from Mississippi, and I'm currently a mortgage banker with a bank here. But my goal is to open up my own mortgage company within the next year. And I'm trying to brand myself separately from my current employer, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to know, just a platform or a blueprint on how to do that.
How long have you been a mortgage banker?
For 3 years.
Okay, so there's some different laws you need to. Did you have to get licensed, or are you working for a bank?
I'm licensed. I have an MLS through because I started with the broker and I've only been with the bank for about 6 months.
Okay, so you have to look up the laws. I believe the last time I looked them up, because that was one of the jobs I had left to start my company before I started this company that failed. I was a mortgage banker at Quicken Loans, so I had a mortgage license for about 17 or 18 states. So I think in order to
Wow.
start your own brokerage, you need to
Yes.
be in the industry for about 5 years. And just you go make sure you go check this, right? You need to be in the
Okay.
industry for about 5 years. You need to have an insurity bond just in case somebody sue you or something, and that has to be. It depends on the volume you're doing, but you have to pay for that. And it's a few more things. You got to check with your state. Do you need an office, right? Because
Okay.
sometimes you may need an office in the state that you're in.
And here in
So
Mississippi, I have to have a brick and mortar.
you said you do?
I do.
Okay. Yeah. So you got to be able to float all of that, right?
Right.
So, a lot of times that stops people. And I will also encourage you to don't do this on your own. Try to do this with multiple other people because it's going to be a lot on you. And you're going to realize you probably would have been more profitable just being a really good banker than trying to run your own company when you don't know what you're doing. So I would say
Gotcha.
try to find a founder, somebody. Maybe it's an underwriter. Maybe it's a salesperson, somebody really good at sales. Maybe it's another banker, something like that. Get some real estate agents under your as a part of your team, so you guys can partner and do a lot of deals together.
Gotcha.
So I would say build out your network and your team before you just quit, because you probably have I don't know, and you got to check this too. Check if you have a non-compete clause, because when I worked at Quicken Loans, I couldn't go start my own brokerage or my own firm, or I couldn't even go work for another firm for a year.
Now,
So
I don't have a non-compete clause, but the things that I know that I need improvement on is actually social media, getting out there and actually being involved on social media, because I'm still kind of, I call it snail mail, I'm old school. I rely on past clients, some real referrals, just word of mouth. I haven't tapped into like the Instagram, Facebook. That's my weakness.
Okay, so here's what I would do. I'm gonna get to the next person because we got a bunch of people here waiting. So if you go on my website and book a one-on-one call, I can for sure give you everything that I know about the mortgage industry, and especially everything I know about the social media industry, because I transitioned from the mortgage industry into the social media marketing industry. So I can for sure help you out. I'll be perfect for you. So if you DM me that you need a one-on-one or whatever, I'll send you the link. I think the link that's in our bio now is for this YouTube channel. So it's not in there, but just shoot me a DM and then I'll be able to point you in the right direction. Or you
Awesome. Thank you.
Or you can just go to jameshilltv.com, and then that's going to send you to all my one-on-one and all of the stuff that I can offer you.
Thank you. I appreciate it a lot, James.
All right, no problem. You have a great day.
You too.
All right, Isaiah, I'm coming to you. Isaiah Thomas, what's going on? State your name, location, what you do for a living, and how can I help you?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Isaiah Thomas. I'm actually based in the MV area, the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and
Okay.
what I do for a living is right now I'm a teacher.
Okay. What's going on? How can I help you?
Hey man, also just one thing, great podcast tonight. It was pretty awesome. Um, One thing I do need help with is kind of getting the operations of a business just up and running. I actually fell in love with education sometime coming out of my undergrad last year. And through that, I actually was able to find like a pretty niche market. But the thing about it is, well, I do want to do it as in like a nonprofit type of thing.
Okay.
And with that is more so finding the operations and how to actually specifically run it. Not just that, but also getting like a good team where I also feel like I do need help in, because this is kind of like my first time going into education. So that's something that I definitely need a lot of resources and help with.
I mean, education in terms of what? Like, what are you specifically going to do that's going to make you stand out in the education field?
Um, it's really just more teaching students and giving them the tools of and how to cope with a lot of the things that they deal with, like a lot of the added on stress that they go through within life that also could affect their school performances. At the same time, with helping them with their academic issues as well.
Okay. So why do you feel you have to do it as a nonprofit?
Reason being is it's not that I feel like I have to do it as a nonprofit. It's more so I don't. It's more so I want to just do this for the people and not for any financial gain,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much,
So,
because I
so
don't want to make it seem like it's something that has to be you have to pay money for it. I want it to be accessible to anybody and everybody.
I want to challenge you in that, man, right? Because
Hmm.
when I got started with everything I'm doing, I wanted to do it as a charity as well. But that's not fair to your family. That's
Hmm.
not fair to your spouse. That's not fair to your kids, right?
Right.
You're giving your all. You're giving 100% of yourself. You sound very passionate about what you're doing. So, like, I don't feel like that's. I feel like that's unfair, um,
Hmm.
because eventually, let's say it start picking up, and you got to hire people, and you got to consult, and you got to buy laptops and websites and all this other stuff that you have to do to build a brand. Who's going to pay for that? Are you going to take that money out of your education salary in order to pay for that? I think that's very unfair. And you can go around, looking for donations and things like that, but then you may come across as a charity case, and people are going to decide. It's like nonprofits is very political, right? So you have to. I would challenge you to just start building your brand as a speaker in an as an educational speaker and an educational consultant. That way, you can take your brand to the next level. You can make good money, and you will speak for free. And that's how you build your brand, speaking for free and doing things like that. So, that's what I would encourage you to do. It looked like he got up out of there. So I'm gonna add. Oh, you back? You back, Isaiah?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I somebody actually called me. I am connected through my phone.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't like. I have a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, people who come to me and they want to do this whole nonprofit thing. I'm not against nonprofit, but what happens is you don't approach it as a business, and you start
Hmm.
looking for handouts instead of adding real value to people and exchanging that for money. So that's what I would do personally. I would start a business. I would start a brand as an educational consultant and like motivational speaker. And
Right.
once I do that, I'll call into a lot of these schools and say, "Hey, I want to speak for free, but I need to be able to record this."
Hmm.
And when you go speak for free, you're doing that out of the kindness of your heart, but you're also getting contacts, you're getting reps, you're getting all of that. So now you're not going to even have to ask for money. People are going to be calling your line to pay you money, and then you can use that money to pay your team, your videographer, and all of that. If you really want to get your message out there, bro, it's going to take money. Like, I'm sorry, I know you want to do it for you want to do it for free. If I could
Hmm.
do Black Millionaires and everything I do for free, I do everything. Like right now, this is free. YouTube is free. That's the most I could do, because I got a team, I got payroll to meet, I got travel to meet, I got a lot of stuff to meet. So you got to approach it like a business. So I would say look at your everything you're doing like a business, brand yourself as a motivational speaker and consultant in the education field, and that is going to allow you to get a lot of contracts in order to
Hmm.
build up your company. And then you start a nonprofit once you get the contacts, and call them and say, "Hey, you ain't got to pay me to speak, but donate to my nonprofit." Because now
Okay.
you got something to add value instead of just walking in with your hand out. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes, it definitely does. Definitely did pivot from it first being for profit to a nonprofit
Mm-hmm.
through one of my undergrad. I It was for like a program that I was doing where I actually made like a proposal and everything for this.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying that I wouldn't be able to, or more so, it would feel better if it was a nonprofit rather than a for profit, which was actually one of the like reasons for not, I think, wanting to not I'm trying to remember exactly what he kind of said, but it was kind of like not enter this thing where you get like grant money for it because he felt like it would be better for as a nonprofit.
I mean, you can get grant money for as an entrepreneur, right? It doesn't really matter whether whether you're a business or a nonprofit. That's not the big issue. What I want you to do, I would encourage you to create a business because you would approach it as a business and take it more serious compared to a nonprofit where you just sit around waiting on a grant and waiting on a donation, right? So that's the only reason if you can make that mindset shift without turning it into a for-profit business, that's great because nonprofits are run by MBAs, masters of businesses, right? These are people who know how to run businesses. They just transition. So that's what I'll say. I'm gonna move on to the next person. I appreciate you, bro, but if you need help with your branding and all that, you already know who to hit me up. But that's what I would encourage you to do, man. I would encourage you to brand yourself as a motivational speaker in the educational field and then transition over into the nonprofit. Don't go with your hand out. Go with value, and then people are going to bring value to you.
Okay. Thank you for that.
All right, man. I appreciate you. All right. Shantae Mills, I'm coming to you.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on? So you got to state your name, your location, and your question or shout out your business or whatever you have going on.
Yes. So my name is Shantae Mills. I am in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, which is a part of Columbus. Okay. And right now, similarly to what you were talking about early, like I've been through so many different career paths and like very good jobs, might I add. Like you and I think Melissa had spoke on this, but I am an author and I'm a believer. So the Holy Spirit put it on my heart to like have multiple businesses, 7 different ones actually, like he intently put on my heart. And I would go into jobs like, okay, I can't do this business thing right now. I'm a single mom. I can't like, just up and do it and don't have any backing, without the finances. And each time I get engulfed in the work, I get engulfed in like building up somebody else's dream and some executive. And so recently, like I just kept feeling that push. So I just stepped out and just did it. I said, okay, it doesn't matter. I know we'll be taken care of. I'm a go-getter. It'll be done. But so I'm 32 years old. I'll be 33 in May. I'm not really a big social media person. So my question is just, what are your 3 top tips for someone who is not like fully engulfed in like social media? I just kind of got hip to the Reels thing and, TikTok and stuff. But like, I don't know. What are your top 3?
Yeah, I mean, so what I would encourage you to do is just simply document your process and what you're doing. So a part of my success, because I had so much success on Instagram, right? A part of my success is I actually showed people, hey, I just got my first 500 followers. Hey, I just got my first 1,000. I just got my first 15,000. I just got my first 10,000, 100,000, 20,000, and now 600 or whatever I'm at right now. But that was a part of the process because those same people who supported me then are looking at me now and saying, wow, I really watched this guy. So my first year in business, what I did wrong, and I wish I could show you guys all this equipment I have over in my studio, because I went out and spent all this money on all the studio equipment and all this. But the reality is I had my phone and that was the best thing I needed, right? Yeah. I just needed to get started with my phone and start documenting my process. So that's step 1. Number 2 is figure out who to sell your product or service to and figure out who not to sell your product or service to. A lot of people get stuck on number 1 and they forget number 2. Because once you find out who not to sell your service to, it's a lot easier to find out who to sell it to, right? What if you find out that your biggest target audience is single mothers over the age of 30? That'll be a lot easier to sell and create products for single mothers over the age of 30. Or what if you find out that your services and your products are best for married men under 30, right? So it's a lot of analytics that you need to look at and stuff like that in terms of who's buying from you. And a lot of times that doesn't necessarily mean they're spending money with you. a lot of times it could be you just having a free download on your website. Who's committed enough to come to my free webinar? Who's committed enough to come to my free live event? Stuff like that. Start paying attention to those things whenever you're doing your organic content, because those are going to be the same people that buy from you, right? It's just a matter of time. The more and more you brand yourself. And the third thing I would say, and this is a secret, I don't tell a lot of people this. So the people who are on here, here's a secret. The higher quality your content is on Instagram or social media, the least likely it's going to go viral. And it's the opposite. Most people think, well, I need to go get a 4K camera. I need to go get it. It's the opposite, because the higher quality, we're so used to seeing regular videos and regular, photos and stuff like that. Cat videos, kids falling off the bed. We were used to seeing that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when we try too hard and go get the camera and you got 3, 4, 5 different camera setup and all that, it comes across as you trying too hard. Yeah. Oh, you trying to do a Hollywood film. You trying way too hard, right? So a lot of people just click past it because it looked like an ad. So that's what I would tell you. Get started where you at. You got an iPhone or Android, so that's enough to get started. Document your process. Every time whatever services you got, get online and talk about it. Well, my girlfriend, she probably watching now, but I pushed her. I remember she probably had like 1,000 followers. And I pushed her and I'm like, I don't care what's going on. You're getting on live today. You're making a video today. I don't care.
That's big.
Her hair wasn't done. Makeup ain't done. I don't care. Put it out. So she put it out and it ain't do nothing. And she was all, hurt about it. But eventually she started putting out more videos. She started going viral. Now she up to like 14,000 followers on her brand. And she made $10,000 on Black Friday for the first time.
Oh, that's love.
And it's crazy, but it all comes from just putting yourself out there. So that's what I would say. Like, a lot of people overanalyze and they're not consistent. So that's a bonus. Be consistent, organic content. Your content does not have to be as high quality as you think, right? All the stuff that went viral for me, here's another tip. And I firmly believe this, so I do it on purpose sometimes. I add a typo in some of the stuff I do on purpose.
Wow.
Because it seems like, it make it seem a lot more organic than actually being very well put together. And I've been in the office for 5 hours. No, I might add a typo to it just so people, hey man, you got a typo, but it's going viral and I made $20,000, so who cares? So those would be my tips till you get started. And don't look at your analytics like, meaning your follower count, until you hit a milestone. Like, don't look at it and be like, well, okay, one more follower. Just put out content. Just put it out. Only look at your analytics to learn about what type of person is buying from you and subscribing to your stuff. Don't look at it as a scoreboard. Look at it to learn how to create better content. So those are the few things I'll tell you to do.
I appreciate it. And I'm sorry I didn't have my notebook, but you know what? I'm gonna go back and watch this over.
Yeah, I was about to say we on live. We still on live, so you should be good.
Yeah,
I appreciate you. We have this. I'm gonna do this every Friday. I've been doing it every Friday for the last, I think since the new year. So I'm gonna do this every Friday.
The text message too. Those are clutch, by the way. That was really different than most people ever do it. So I appreciate the text message reminders. That's definitely clutch.
All right, I appreciate you. You have a great day.
You as well.
All right, we're going to Dwight. Dwight, what's going on, brother? Can you hear me? We can't hear you, bro.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now. So
thank you, man.
State your name, location, what you do for your business, and what's your question.
So my name is Dwight. I'm the owner and CEO of Mariner Vision Clothing Brand, and I'm just here at the gym right now. I'm at a pop-up right now at LA Fitness.
Love it, bro. I love it.
And I saw the notifications, so I wanted to jump on. So we want to run a pre-order for a design that we're dropping for Black History Month. And I want to be able to ask you if we want to pay to be on your platform to promote that.
Okay.
So I just want to know, like as far as tomorrow, is that a good time to drop a promo? What's the best time to drop that tomorrow through you guys?
I mean, yeah, it'll be good. It really don't depend. It really doesn't matter the time frame because I have such a big audience. the big thing is the content. So what I would say, just DM us and we'll work with you on the content to make sure that is good. But the timing, I mean, I can post something at 9 o'clock on a Sunday, and if it's good content, it's going to go, right? So the timing doesn't matter. Obviously, Monday at 12 o'clock is probably a better time than Friday at 11 o'clock, but it really depends on the content. I haven't seen your content yet, so I will have to evaluate what content you have to give you the best time to post it up. But if your content is good, it's going to go for sure.
Thank you, man. That's all I had. I appreciate it, and look out forward for that information. We send it over to you tomorrow. Thank you so much.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to Lakeisha.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Lakeisha?
Good. My daughter's brand, she's a 10-year-old entrepreneur. She has her own lemonade brand, which is Layla Lemonade and Sweet Treat Connection.
Okay.
And we've been featured on Good Morning America, local news stations, but we're trying to get into stores. We already have our letter typed up and our line item letter done, but it's just like I don't know the right way to introduce it to different brand, like different stores, like Harris Teeter, things like that.
Okay, so what kind of stores are you trying to get in?
Like grocery stores, like chain stores, I guess I would say.
So what I would recommend, and I had a client who's actually in stores, like she's in Texas. Where are you located?
In North Carolina.
Okay, she was in Texas, and they had a sauce brand. And they were my clients for a while, and I learned from them in order, how they got into brands. So one of the things they did is don't go to the big box brands first, because the first question they're gonna ask you is how many stores are you in? and it don't even matter. It don't even matter to ask. They just trying to see if you're in stores yet,
right?
Because nobody want to bring you in stores if you're not in somebody else's store.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. So what I would tell you to do is actually go into these smaller mom and pop stores that will really benefit from having your brand in there.
Okay.
And then tell them, hey, we have a very good brand. What I would recommend you do is say, we got a very good brand. I would like to bring traffic to your store. Can we host a pop-up shop at your store?
Okay. Because
then here's the thing. Here's the trick with the pop-up shop.
Okay.
You're going to I forgot what they call that, but you're basically going to engineer a good pop-up shop.
Okay.
You're going to call all your family, everybody. And you're going to have lines of people waiting out of your pop-up shop, and you want to record that. Right? I'm giving you some sauce, right? I hope you do this, right? So record that, and you got 40, 50 people, and record people taking pictures with the lemonade and doing all that. So, and you want to go and you get that at one store, then go to the other stores. Say, hey, I can do the same thing for your brand. Go to about 4 or 5 different stores and just have it, and then just give them some product, even if you have to give it to them. All right, give them the product. So now you can take pictures. Yeah, I got my product in store. So when they ask you and you go to the big box retails, how many stores are you in? Oh, we're in 7 stores across North Carolina. That sounds good. It don't really matter if you're in 7 big stores or not. You're in 7 stores.
Okay.
Right? And then they're going to say, you know what? Show us. All right, I got photos and I got videos.
Okay.
Right? And then that helps you negotiate a lot better. But how is your supply chain? Like, how many can you produce when it comes to approaching these big box stores? Because they're going to ask you, if they order, 50,000 bottles from you, can you produce that?
No, not right now.
What's the maximum you can produce?
Right now, because we do it out of our house. I think the biggest order we've done is like 600 at one time, and we got that done in a day.
Okay. So you probably don't need to be in a big box store. Honestly, you don't need to. And that's hard for people to grasp, but you don't really need to. You don't need to be in a big box store. You need to get your supply chain together so you can actually go into these smaller markets and smaller stores, because 600 is music to their ears. They can't order 10,000 anyway.
Okay.
So a lot of times people want to network up. You got to network across. Work with people that can work with you, right? So go to those corner stores and just bang those out until that doesn't make sense anymore.
Okay.
And then use that leverage to go into those big box stores. And then here's another trick with the big box stores. Have your family and friends and people go in and call in and ask for your product. Okay. Hey, do y'all got this lemonade? No. Do y'all got this lemonade? No. Do y'all got this lemonade? So when you go in and negotiate, they already know. Oh, well, 10 people called in and asked for that. Right. You see what I mean? Yeah. That's called guerrilla marketing.
Okay.
That means you're creating something out of nothing. So that was $1 million worth of game, right? I want you to implement that and come back to me and let me know how that went.
I definitely will. Thank you so much.
All right. I appreciate you. All right. So we're coming to, he got his IG on there, so I can't see it. Hey, what's going on? State your name and location.
Hi, my name is Joanna, and I am located in Virginia.
Hey, what's going on? What kind of business do you have?
One of my businesses is a chocolate desserts and chocolate covered treats. So it's like strawberries, casicles, hot cocoa bombs, chocolate covered Oreos, and pretzels. And one of my questions is,
oh man, I don't know what happened with that. She dropped out. So we're gonna go to you, Trayshawn.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What's going on?
Not much. I'm from Kissimmee, Florida, and I have a clothing brand called BAG, which stands for Be Yourself is Genuine.
Okay.
And my question is, how would I add value to my clothing brand? Because I feel like it's in the name, but I don't know exactly how to add the value to it.
Okay. What do you mean by add value? What's your definition of add value?
Really just get my message across to new audiences and really get the reach on people.
Okay. So what have you tried so far that hasn't worked?
I've been putting out content on my Instagram and TikTok, and I tried TikTok, but I realized that wasn't good for me, and so I get better reach. I think because of the videos. So the videos and the content I put out. So I think I will have to switch it up. But I feel like Instagram is working better for me in putting out content.
Okay. I mean, so the way you add value as a clothing brand is you got to give people a reason to wear your clothes, right? So why do people wear Louis, Gucci, Rolex, all these clothes or these brands? That's because it gives them some type of social currency. So the social currency you get for wearing a Rolex, for example, I got on one, right? Is people look at that like, whoa, Rolex, it costs a lot, right? So that guy must got some money, right? Or the reason people wear Gucci and Louis is because it shows, hey, I got money, right? That's what people are trying to come across as, right? So you got to give a reason to why people wear your brand. Maybe you're not a clothing, I mean, let's say you're not a luxury brand. Okay, now you're a lifestyle brand. So in your lifestyle brand, what are you doing? Are you trying to tell people to motivate? Are you trying to motivate people? Are you trying to inspire people? Are you trying to educate people? Why should somebody wear your clothes? Why should they represent you and your brand? So like with me, Black Millionaires, I represent financial literacy, motivation, and building up a brand. So when people, the only people that like my brand are people who are interested in finance, business, entrepreneurship, all of that. I got some people who are just not interested in that, and that's fine, right? That's okay, right? And those type of people, they might shop with me once or twice, but they unfollow me and I don't rock with them no more. I got a guy I want to show y'all right now. He just said, I don't rock with your brand no more. I'm like, yeah, you must, your business must ain't going too well. because
Right.
all I promote is financial literacy, growing your brand, growing your business. So he must be jealous of me, right? So
Mhm.
in that situation, figure out, what are you? Are you a lifestyle brand? Are you a motivational brand? Are you a high-end luxury brand? Like, what are you? And once you figure out what you are, that will narrow down and show you your marketing strategy. So based on this conversation, what do you think? Are you a luxury brand? Are you like a workout brand, a workout apparel brand, a motivational brand? What kind of brand are you?
I would say I think I'm a motivational brand. Can it be two types of brand in one, or would it just have to be one specific?
No, it could be two, it could be three, but one is going to be dominant, right?
Okay.
So which one is dominant in your perspective?
Inspirational. I think inspirational brand.
Okay, you want to inspire people. So what are you doing as an entrepreneur to inspire other people other than having a clothing brand? Because we all can go get a t-shirt and stamp it on our shirt. So you have to go and actually live your lifestyle that you're trying to portray to other people. So if you want to inspire and motivate people, you have to be inspirational and motivational, and you have to do something and accomplish something, right? Not saying you haven't accomplished anything. I don't know your whole story. But if you want to motivate people and inspire people, you got to do things that are going to motivate and inspire people to wear your brand. Because if people get inspired by your brand, then they're going to wear it because they want to feel like you when they're wearing their brand. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yeah. So I mean, you can just start going volunteering, going speaking. I don't know what you do in your free time or what your skill set is. So I guess I'll ask you, what is one of your skill sets that you feel like you do better than other people?
I think that would be probably just talking, putting myself out there, because I seen on the video with you and World of Vision is like you really just got to put yourself out there and really not be afraid. And I think that's what I'm trying to do, and a skill that I'm trying to get better at, and something I think I'm good at better than most people.
How old are you?
I'm 18, about to turn 19.
Oh man, that's dope, man. You need to be going speaking to middle schoolers, wearing your brand. You need to go out there and speak to middle schoolers, because right now, see, the problem is you're at a stage to where you feel like you're not as valuable to the economy because you're seen as an adult now. And you ain't accomplished nothing. So you like, well, what am I, right?
Yeah.
But you have accomplished something. It's some middle schooler who's probably about to drop out of middle school, or some ninth grader who's about to drop out of ninth grade who needs to see you and needs to hear your story and needs to rock your brand. So every time they see your brand, they get motivated and inspired to keep going. And you need to go out and volunteer and speak to these young kids because they look up to you. Right? Somebody 35, 36 may not look up to you because they like, bro, I already lived your life twice. Right. But somebody who's 12, who's trying to figure life out, they need you there. They need somebody as a role model, and you could be that for that person. So that's what I would recommend. You're probably not going to inspire a 40-year-old right now. I'm just being honest. Right? Ageism is real. I'm 27, bro. Yeah. And I make good money. I make more money than probably a lot of 40, 50-year-olds. And it's a lot of 40 or 50-year-olds who don't want to learn from me because I'm 27. Right? And I make more money than them and probably everybody else in their family. Okay. So ageism is real. So you got to use your age as an advantage. Where would your age be valuable? To middle schoolers, to elementary schools, to some high schoolers. And go speak to them, wear your brand. And, people are going to love it. They're going to start supporting it. So that's what I would do. You're a walking billboard when you're wearing your brand. So you should be wearing your brand all the time.
Okay. Thank you for giving me your time.
All right, no problem, man. Thank you for rocking with the brand. And thank you for checking out that Word and Vision podcast. I appreciate you.
No problem.
All right. Let's go to Dream Life Clothing. What's going on? State your name, location, and your business.
Yeah, it's Liddell Winborn. I'm in Cali right now, and it's a clothing line, just like how you was talking to the other young brother.
All right, what's going on? What's your question, bro?
Yeah, like you kind of answered it when you was talking to him about stuff.
Okay.
It's just that my only thing was I do everything like you said. Like I wear my brand everywhere. I did the promotion with people for them to promote it, like other influencers and stuff. It's just I don't know how to get out of being stagnant. Like I felt like I reached a plateau, and then now it's like I don't know how to get out of it really.
I'm gonna be honest, bro. So your brand, your company is going to get better when you get better, right? So what are you doing to get better that you can that can flow over to your brand? Because you're the only person in your brand, right? Do you have any other founders?
Like with followers, yeah, I'm gaining.
No,
like,
I said no founders, like somebody else who
founders,
owns a part of the company.
Yeah, it's just me. Yeah.
Okay. So what do you do full time, or do you do this full time?
No, like that's what I'm trying to transition into because I work my 9 to 5 and I'm using that to fund my business and everything. But then I want to get to the point where I could leave that and then I have my business running for me and I'm doing everything like that. So that way I could pass that to my son. And sorry if you hear him in the background.
Oh no, man, that's what's up, man. I mean, you doing your thing, so I'd rather hear him in the background than not hear him at all because it's people out here who don't, who aren't there for their children, and there's people out here who are missing their parents. So that's dope that you're doing that. What I would say is whatever you're doing to earn money in your job, and this is gonna sound real crazy. A lot of people won't give you this advice, but I'm gonna be honest, as somebody who's worked at 26 jobs and somebody who's worked at my own company and growing my own company and have employees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What I would tell you to do is when you're at your job, whatever you're doing, do that to the best of your ability. Right? Because how you do one thing is how you're going to do everything. So you can't slack at your job and be terrible and lazy, right? And then come home and think you're going to give 120% at your own brand. It don't work like that. The mind can only believe one thing at a time. So your mind either going to believe that you're a hard worker and you put in the work or that you're lazy. Right? So I don't know what you do for work, but I would work on myself.
All right.
Right? I would work on myself, and working on yourself may mean showing up to work on time, doing what you're supposed to do, doing everything you said you were supposed to do. Right? And that's going to translate over into your business, into your job. I mean, into your business. Let me ask you this: how many designs do you have for your company at the
moment? Right now, I say at least 10, but I didn't put them all out because I do little things like oh, I put on Instagram in the story and I'll put like, oh, which one do y'all like better? That way I could get like, okay, people like this one, so I'll try to put that out. Like I do it like that. I just didn't put everything out.
Okay, so I would get rid of 8 of them and stick with 1, maybe 2. You're a startup. You can't afford 10 designs.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't care how much money you got. You just can't afford 10 designs. And that's because you want to make sure when people see your brand, they have to recognize your brand. So if you got 9 different logos or whatever on your shirt, and 9 different people walk past, I'm gonna think that's 9 different brands. But if 9 different people walk past with the one logo or one design, I'm gonna be like, wow, what brand is that, right? You see what I mean? So get rid of, you only need 1 design, 2 colors at the most. Right? See, 1 design, 2 colors.
That's the thing. The main thing that everybody wear, because I done sold it to like almost everybody on my job, it's the one font label that says Dream Life on it. Okay. But then it's like I did black and white, but then people started saying, what about a yellow? I'll buy yellow. Like they started giving me color suggestions. So all of that was happening, and then it's like I sold the shirts to everybody. Now I'm like, okay, it's wintertime. I just made a hoodie. And now it's like nobody looking at the hoodie now. That's why I was like, it started getting stagnant.
Why do you think nobody's looking at the hoodie? Because nobody bought?
Yeah. Like I know they see it. I'm just like, y'all brought the shirts. Y'all brought the shirts. Like, what's going on with the hoodie?
Okay, did you ask them, did they want to buy the hoodie, or did you just assume they was gonna come back up to you and buy it from you?
Oh, they asked me before I even got the funds and everything to print the hoodie. Everybody was telling me, you should make a hoodie, do this. So I did it, and then it's like, what happened?
Where you at? Where you
in California right now.
Oh man, you shouldn't have made a hoodie at. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have made a hoodie in Cali. I mean,
no, but I sell it. I try to sell it to where I'm from. Cause I'm from Brooklyn, so I try to do it for both sides.
Right. So what I would say is, for one, you need to collect those people's data that you're buying it from. Are you collecting their information?
Like they talk to me at work about it, but they don't. It's not like a full-fledged conversation because they're in different departments, so I don't really get to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you need to expand your market, meaning all your followers on social media need to know about your brand. I don't care if they unfollow you. Hey, I promise you, bro. I wish I could show you. When I started my brand, I DM'd everybody who was following me and say, "Hey, I just started this company. Could you please follow me XYZ?" Some people followed me, some people didn't, some people read the message. And do you know, it's some people responding to me right now saying, yeah, I just follow, I'm supporting you. Right? So you got to be willing to get out there and put yourself out there. It's called guerrilla marketing, right? And a guerrilla marketing tactic that you could do is, what do you do for work? Where you work at?
At Staples Warehouse, moving like chairs and furniture and stuff like that.
Okay, so you work at Staples. Probably, I mean, they probably, that's a big company. They probably not gonna let you set up shop. You think they'll let you sell do they let you sell your hoodies and all that at work, or you got to sneak?
Like, they see me doing it, and the supervisors, they don't care. They see me doing it, but when they put their Staples shirts out, they be like, all right, chill out, man.
Right. So what you need to do is, for one, you need to expand your mind, right? Just because people at your job didn't want to buy the hoodie doesn't mean it's not a good hoodie, right?
Yeah.
It don't like, that's the whole point of killing all the other designs, having one or two colors, is because you want to go wide. It's 7 billion people you can sell to. So let's just get it. It's 300 million people in America you can sell to. So do you have your website up yet?
Yeah, I have the website up. The Shopify is connected to Facebook, IG.
Are you running ads?
Yeah, I did. I was running ads off of Instagram, and then also on Facebook. I don't know why the Snapchat one, it wouldn't work for me. I have to figure that out.
Yeah, so
and I'm
here's
just
another
getting
tip,
into TikTok.
Here's another tip. Choose one social media platform. One.
All right.
Don't promote on Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube all at the same time. Choose one. Don't put all your energy into growing one of your social media channels for at least a year, and then transition and diversify. Because what's going to happen is, let's say you're giving 100%, but you got 5 different social media platforms. You're really giving 20%. Because you're giving 20%, because you only can give 100. So if you're giving your all, you're giving 20% to all 5 different platforms. So I would rather you give 100% to one. And if that's Instagram, cool. If that's Facebook, cool. If that's Twitter, cool. Give your all to one. I got a bunch of people in here, bro. So so shoot me a DM and we can continue the conversation. Because I want to help you out. But I got a bunch of people in here waiting on to answer questions.
Oh, no problem. Everybody that's waiting, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, bro. Shout your brand out.
Yeah, it's Dream Life Clothing on IG. It's just, yeah, and I always get inspirational stuff from your page too, because that's what helped get me some followers also.
Okay, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate you. You have a great day.
All right, thank you, man. Be safe, y'all.
All right, so we're going to Patricia. Oh, sorry, my bad, Patricia. I put sparkle. I clicked the wrong button. My bad. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for tuning in. State your name, location, what you do, and how I can help you out.
Okay, so my name is Ashley Ramsey. I am currently in Dallas, but I'm from Fort Lauderdale, South Florida area, Fort Lauderdale, Miami area, and I offer teeth whitening. So not only do I offer teeth whitening services, but I also train others to start teeth whitening businesses. I've been doing this since 2011. So
Okay.
last year made 10 years, and I offer, like I said, I offer courses as well, and I offer
Okay.
strategy sessions to help people get more clientele on social media. So that's what I do.
Okay. I
Um,
love it.
as far as my questions right now is, I'm kind of at a standstill point right now. So I built a lot of clientele. So I travel from Dallas to Fort Lauderdale. So I train girls in back home, Fort Lauderdale, Miami area once a month, and here in Dallas twice a week. But I'm just trying to pivot to the next level, which is more so traveling with it, going to like different cities with it.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to see how I can do that, because I have a lot of followers that are interested in Georgia, New York, and California. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And actually getting into a mentorship program, starting a mentorship program as well. So that's what I'm struggling with right now.
Yeah. So what you want to do is start networking across in a lot of these cities, and get connected with like 2 or 3 people, and all y'all throw an event together.
Okay.
Right? Or y'all throw some type of free brunch or some type of free thing together, and you sponsor.
Got
right?
it.
So the people who come in, they're not going to know that you flew in and did all that. They're not going to care. They're going to only care if you got a good product or service, which it sounds like you do. You've been doing it 10 years, and you don't do something for 10 years if you're not seeing some type of progress,
Right.
get some type of good client reviews. So I'm confident to say that you know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So what you want to do is connect with some type of other influencer in that area. Like, for example, I'm in Atlanta, right? So if you wanted to come to Atlanta, you would say, hey, James, do you have any events that you're throwing locally or anything that you got going on your radar? I would like to come be a sponsor at the event, or I would actually like to partner on the event with you, right? That way you're bringing my audience, and I'm going to say, well, I don't want it to just be me and you. I'm going to go call my other homeboy or my other homegirl. So now I got 3-4 people, and you're bringing your people that I don't know about. So I benefit from that.
Okay.
I'm bringing my people that you don't know about. So we all benefit. And because I'm in Atlanta, it's easier for me to agree to that compared to if I had to travel to Dallas or California or somewhere like that. So you want to get some feet on the ground, some people who can actually do some of the groundwork for you, and throw an event under 200 people. You can go on Peerspace and rent a room for like under $1,000. And when it's 4 or 5 people, it only costs like $500 a piece to throw an event. I don't know how much your services are, but do the cost benefit analysis and see how many clients do I got to get from this event in order to break even. And once you do that, you get 200 people in the room. If you can't make some money out with 200 without 200 people, with 200 people being in the room, if you can't make no money from your product or service, it ain't the product. It ain't the people.
Right.
It's your product, right?
Right.
So yeah, so I would start connecting with people locally to whatever city you're trying to go to.
Okay.
And that's literally the easiest way to do it. Do you have any type of free service you can offer online to collect data?
Like collecting emails, right?
Emails, locations.
So I started an email list just for people to subscribe. That's how I did really good for Black Friday. I started my email list like 2 months before Black Friday, and people got into that, and I just blasted them with email marketing and text message marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But I just started one for if you're interested in me traveling to your state to offer the courses. And I've gotten a lot of emails, so I know Georgia's going to be my first state by itself.
Okay.
Because everybody was from Georgia. So Georgia was number 1, then California, and then.
How do you know they're from Georgia?
Because they tell me. So I have it set up on Flowdesk where they give me their email address, their phone number, and they let me know what they reply back with the city when they get that welcome email to my email list.
Okay, perfect. That's what I was going to ask you. Like, when you collecting data, do you ask? Because I ask people, tell me what state you in, right? I ask people that just so if I'm going to Houston, I can send an email or a text blast out to all my people who are in Houston and connect with people that way. So you're on the right track. I would just try to connect with micro influencers.
Okay.
And those are people. So I may be considered like a macro, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I can do a whole event by myself and then bring
Right.
300-400 people out because I have done it before. But I would connect with people who I would probably get one macro influencer, so somebody who's big like myself, and then I'll get 2 or 3 other smaller influencers, right? And y'all might have to pay the macro influencers, but if it's 3 of y'all can all piece your money together to do it, and it's worth the money, because people are going to come to see that person, and then they're going to learn about your brand, and they're going to be like, oh, I do need teeth whitening, or I do need this, or I do need that, or you can get that product away or that service away for free, and now I'm up there talking about your teeth whitening.
Yeah.
Right. And I got influence, so all my people gonna go get your service. So that's what I would do. Connect with macro and micro influencers in the city. Make sure you collect that data, and I mean that's really it. I mean, it's just really about doing it.
Yeah, actually doing it. I just don't know how to I just didn't know how to go about trying to figure out what I want to do with these influencers. So I've been looking up Atlanta influencers and stuff, and I've been messaging them, commenting on their page. You know how that goes. Just having some sort of interaction with them. So I've been doing that part. I just don't know. I didn't know what exactly to say. So you just gave me a hint on exactly what to say as far as an event goes.
Oh, and I mean, here's another play too. I did this when I have no followers. I have nothing, trying to connect with people. If they got a product, buy the product. Obviously, if it's $1,000 product, something you can't afford, whatever. But if they got like a ebook or something that's $20, buy it. Go ask them about it. Hey, I just bought your ebook. What about, question? I got a question about page 8. That let them know you read the ebook. Mm-hmm. Right. So now they're like, oh, okay. They feeling, now that their guard is down, because a lot of people come to me for questions and all of that, and they don't add no value to my life.
Yes.
Right. So if somebody would have bought my ebook and then hit me in the DM and say, hey, page 10, when you talked about this, could you expand on that? Now you got me open and jolly, because I want to talk about, everybody want to talk about themselves, right?
Of course.
And then you slip it in. Hey, I'm actually thinking about coming to Atlanta. Here's my analytics. I got 100 people who signed up. Would you be willing to, come to this event or put in on this event? I know you're busy, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do everything, and I'm gonna pay all the money. I'm gonna do all that. I just need you to shout it out and get people to come out. Some people will do it. You'll be surprised, right? So that's a quick tip I'll give you to connect with influencers, because we can be very standoffish online because we get bombarded with so many questions every day.
Exactly. Okay, awesome. That's one of the main questions. That was another question, how to deal with influencers. So that was perfect. Thank you.
All right, no problem. I appreciate you. I'm gonna go to Patricia because she's gonna cuss me out because I was supposed to win.
All right.
All right, I appreciate you. Thank you for rocking with me.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, my bad. Listen,
greetings, salutations.
My bad. I skipped you.
No, you're good. Hey, you're good. Patience is a virtue.
All right, so you got to state your name, your location, what you do. Okay. You got a business, shout your business out.
Well, my name is Patricia Holt. I live in Atlanta.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah, the greatest city in the world. And I'm retired. That's a long story. However, my business is God's favorite couture clothing brand.
Okay.
And I just started, but I've been taking notes. I've been listening, because I'm also a student, but I've been listening, and I'm taking it all in, because I just really started. Like, literally, I just got my LLC like this month.
Okay. So you brand new.
Like, I'm starting from like the very beginning, like as a novice. Mm-hmm. And so I have tons of questions, of course, but my biggest one, because I've already identified that I want to be like a lifestyle / motivational brand. Mm-hmm. And I just look, I need someone that knows how to like brand and market. So any of y'all that like, because I don't know what's going on. Okay, I'm just being for real. Like, oh, hold on 1 second.
You got the brand.
Oh,
okay. I see. I feel it. Hold on. Okay.
Right? See that? So anywho,
hey, listen, I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I appreciate that.
I love the information and everything that you guys give. It's great. But thanks, baby. So like again, my brand is inspirational because very, very long story short, I am a widow. I'm 40. I'm a widow. My daughter's 19, and my husband was killed in Iraq back in 2004. Okay, so that's like my hey. It's been almost 20 years now, but God has brought me such a long way. And my story is so powerful, you know, and I want to get that out. So like my declaration is that I am, we're trying not to cry, but I am God's favorite because, you know, what was in me was greater than what came against me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very passionate about it. I'm very passionate about it. And that's really what my brand is about. Like just the declaration, your words, how much your words matter, how you look at yourself matters. And you create your destiny by what you believe about yourself. So with that being said, I'm trying to figure out where to really begin. Like, I don't know, like I have a couple of ideas as far as like what I want it to look like and all that other jazz. Okay. So I listened to you guys when you were talking about that, but as far as like production and like who to use and all these other things, I'll tell you, like I don't even know where to begin. So
okay. So you don't have any products at the moment?
No, I do not.
Okay. And you basically need a blueprint on how to get your products out to market.
Yes.
Okay. So how much capital do you have dedicated to starting the brand? Do you have a $1,000 budget? Do you have $10,000? Do you have $5?
I'm gonna say $5,000.
$5,000? Okay, so you got $5,000. So you could for sure get started with $5,000. So for one, you gotta how many shirts do you feel like you want to buy first? Do you need help with that as well?
I do. Okay. I'm just gonna tell you, like I'm at the very beginning stage, so I need as much help as I can gather.
Okay, so you need to find the manufacturers to where you're gonna get the material from, right? Okay. So that's step one. Step two, you got to get the logo. Now, are you good with artsy type of logo stuff, or?
I consider myself a creative, so yeah.
Okay, so you can go on Adobe and create something yourself. Okay, so are you going to do that, or have you done that yet?
I have.
Okay, that's good. How many colors is in your logo?
See, that's the thing. Like, okay, so what had happened was I created a couple of things now. Okay, right. So like you said, I know I need to narrow down. So I took that in, but I haven't decided a color scheme at this point in time. I'll be honest.
Okay, so what color scheme are you trying to sell? Unisex, men, women? Who are you trying to sell to?
Men and women, of course. More so unisex. It's like, you know, I want it to be from the very start, like t-shirts and like sweatshirts. That's where I want to start.
Do you have a brand color? You know what colors you want?
My favorite color is green, but that is as far as I've gotten.
But I mean, yeah, your favorite color green, but do you think a lot of people are going to wear and buy a green shirt?
No, I haven't gathered that information as of yet. No.
Okay, so listen. You got a lot going on, so I'm gonna give you some sauce. But what I want you to do, I want you to DM me because I want to help you, so we can set up a call one-on-one, do that whole thing. Yeah. Because I can give you a whole blueprint. I wish we can go and see my merch because I got the whole thing. I did pretty much everything under the sun and lost money. That's actually how I lost a bunch of money my first time. I went out and bought like 5,000 shirts and didn't know how to sell them. So I lost a bunch of money, but I eventually learned how to sell them because my back was against the wall. Right. But what I would tell you is you need one logo, two colors, right? Okay. You need your Shopify. You ain't got no website yet?
No, sir.
Okay, you can get your website and everything up. That's not really that hard. You buy a Shopify theme, or they got free ones. I recommend you buy the theme, but they got free ones, right? So once you buy the theme, you connect your website, all of that. Figure out who you want to sell to and who don't you want to sell to. All right. You're not selling to people in the club.
Right.
So the type of person who's going to wear this to the club, you're not competing with Gucci and Louis. All right, that's good. So once you decide you're not competing with Gucci and Louis, now that's going to help you out with your price point.
Okay.
So you can't have Gucci and Louis price. So now you got to figure out how to make a profit selling your product for $25 or less.
Okay.
Right. And that comes with manufacturing and scale and all that other things that we can talk about. But you want to be able to at least double your money. Right. So if you are selling a product for $25, the bare minimum you can buy it for is probably $10 or $12. Okay. And that's very, very expensive. But sometimes you got to do what you got to do when you don't have the manufacturing and everything you want. All right. So you want to be ready. You got to be willing to at least double your money. There's different ways you can make money on shipping, like actually shipping out the product. So I make money on shipping. If somebody buy a shirt from me, I charge them a flat rate, but all the time it's not necessarily, that's not how much the rate it costs to ship the shirt. So for example, let's say I charge you $8, and I don't charge $8, but I'm just using that as an example. I charge $8, but it only costs $4 to ship.
Right.
So I just made $4 on shipping. That $4 should cover all of your shipping material. You're going to need bags. You're going to need a printer, and get you a Rolo printer so you don't have to keep buying ink, stuff like that. So it's a lot of things a lot of small details that got to go into building up your brand. I for sure want to help you. Shoot me a DM on Instagram, on my personal page, or on the business page. And I'm going to help you out. I can for sure help you build that brand and get it off the ground. So I appreciate you tapping in with me for sure on here.
Awesome. No worries. It was great. It was great tonight. I was like inspired.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm coming back every Friday, man. So I appreciate you tuning in.
All right, no worries. You have a great night.
All right, you too. Peace. Yes, guys, I'm tired, man. So if I got anybody else who want to get up on here, come on. I think we only have, that was the last person. So I'm about to head up out of here, man. So if I got anybody on here who want to do the last questions or whatever, let me know. But other than that, I'm about to get up out of this thing. Congratulations. Yes, congratulations. So listen, I appreciate you guys. All right, Instagram, we gone. So look, I appreciate you guys, right? Please like, if you're in here, we got a few people still in here. Please like the video. That helps us. That helps us with the algorithm, and it helps us grow, and it helps us do all of that, right? Y'all know how that go. But it helps us bring more people on here that can teach you for free. If not, people ain't gonna want to come on a platform, and I gotta pay. And if I gotta pay, I gotta charge y'all, right? And I don't want to charge y'all because I want y'all to invest that money in y'all brand, right? So thank you, Nicholas. I appreciate that. You said you enjoyed this. Share this out to your friends. Share this out to your family. Subscribe. If you're not on the text list, go subscribe to our text list, right? Also save the videos. Yes, do all of that, right? Do everything you can to help the channel grow. I appreciate everybody who's been subscribing. I'll see you guys next week. If you guys need help with your brand, if you need one-on-one coaching, if you need something to get started, I'm going to run a sale for everybody who's been on here. So shoot me a DM if you need help with that. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. And I'm out.